Here's one hard truth about manifestation most gurus won't tell you. If you're obsessively visualizing, chanting affirmations, and scribbling wish lists, chasing outcomes with all your mental effort, you're not manifesting. You're blocking your own flow. Let's break that down. The more you force yourself to picture success, the more resistance you build. Science has a word for this: wave interference. Nikola Tesla realized, back in the heart of the electrical age, that when your intention is strained and anxious, your energy becomes pure noise. The field around you stops responding. Progress stalls. Think about how so many mornings start. Eyes open, you grab your phone, scan your bank balance, feel anxious. Maybe you're obsessing over someone's Instagram stories, trying to spot the tiniest signs of a connection. Or you monitor your health, tense and hyper-aware, convinced something will go wrong. Every time you do this, you're unconsciously telling the universe, "I doubt this will work for me." Quantum manifestation doesn't reward hustle. It listens to harmonic energy, the kind Tesla studied. Your consciousness isn't just a brain process. It's the driving force, the game changer, the real creator of how your reality takes shape. The trick isn't pushing harder. It's tuning into the frequency where what you want is already real. Forget chasing. The multiverse isn't just sci-fi. It's where possibility lives and breathes. Right now, countless versions of you are walking different paths. Each one is living its own outcome. You don't need to win the universe over. You just need to tune into your chosen timeline. If this message hits home, if you're tired of empty promises and endless rituals that never deliver, landing here could reorganize everything you thought you knew. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're about to dive into quantum manifestation the way Tesla and Jung approached reality, not by just picturing, but by becoming. They didn't manifest through vision boards or hyped-up mantras. Tesla navigated reality by vibrating with the energy of his inventions. Jung shifted archetypes by rewiring deep subconscious signals. Everything you're about to learn happens inside your electromagnetic field, not in the stories your mind tells. Let's cut straight to the chase. The first fatal mistake you are making is trying to manifest through rational thinking. You sit down, close your eyes, and start building mental movies of what you want. You picture the perfect house, the ideal relationship, the fat bank account. Then you get frustrated because reality refuses to cooperate with your inner cinema. Tesla stumbled onto something revolutionary back in 1899 while he was experimenting with wireless energy transmission at Colorado Springs. He discovered there were two completely different ways to interact with the universe's electromagnetic field. The first was mechanical. You force, you push, you try to control. The second was quantum. You tune in, you resonate, you become part of the field itself. The difference is brutal. In quantum physics, when you observe a particle, it instantly collapses from a state of infinite possibilities into one specific reality. But here's the secret that completely shifted how Tesla viewed manifestation. The observer isn't just your conscious mind. The observer is your entire system. Unconscious patterns, emotions, beliefs, cellular memories, vibrational frequency, everything working together. When you try to manifest using only your mind, you're ignoring 95% of your true observational power. It's like trying to conduct a symphony using just one finger. You might get some sound, but it won't be music. Carl Jung discovered this from a different angle. He realized the collective unconscious contains archetypes, universal energy patterns that influence how reality manifests. There's the archetype of abundance, of love, of health, of personal power. But there are also archetypes of scarcity, abandonment, illness, powerlessness. And guess which one's running your manifestation when you're unconscious of this process? Notice something curious. You want to manifest abundance, but when an unexpected bill shows up, your entire body contracts. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your breathing gets shallow. These are archetypal reactions from survival fear. And in that exact moment, you just sent a quantum signal way more powerful than any visualization. You're vibrating at the frequency of scarcity. The law of vibration works through your entire nervous system, not just through your prefrontal cortex. Your pineal gland, what the ancients called the third eye, is literally a calcite crystal that picks up and transmits electromagnetic frequencies. When you're in states of fear, anxiety, or control, this gland calcifies and loses its ability to tune into the subtler frequencies of manifestation. Tesla had a daily practice he called electromagnetic attunement. He didn't visualize. He became a human tuning fork, vibrating at the same frequency as what he wanted to manifest. The difference is subtle, but revolutionary. Instead of imagining an invention, he felt the vibration of discovery. Instead of thinking about success, he embodied the frequency of achievement. You might never have noticed, but there's a huge difference between thinking about abundance and vibrating abundance. When you think about it, you're separate from it. When you vibrate it, you become it. And the holographic universe responds much more to your vibrations than to your thoughts. Here's an experiment that'll make this crystal clear. Remember the last time you were deeply in love? Not when you were thinking about the person, but when you were in their presence, feeling that energy of total connection. In that state, you didn't need to visualize love. You were love, vibrating. And notice how life conspired to bring more moments like that. That's the secret of quantum manifestation. You don't ask the universe. You become the answer itself. But there's a problem. Every time you try to force a vibrational state, you create resistance. It's like trying to relax through effort. Doesn't work. Quantum manifestation operates through what the Hermetic principles call the law of least effort. The less you force, the more space you create for reality to reorganize around you. Tesla discovered there are specific moments when the quantum field is most receptive to change. He called these coherence windows. These are moments when your individual consciousness naturally aligns with universal consciousness. Usually happens right upon waking, before sleep, during deep meditation, or in creative flow states. In these windows, you don't need complicated techniques. You just need to feel. Feel what it would be like to live in the reality you desire. Not imagine, not visualize. Feel viscerally, as if your body were already inhabiting this new timeline. Carl Jung discovered something fascinating about this. He realized that when a person truly embodies a new archetype, when they don't just think about abundance, but become the vibration of abundance itself, the entire collective unconscious reorganizes to support this new identity. It's as if the whole universe conspires to validate who you've decided to be. But there's a subtle saboteur that destroys this process. Jung called it the shadow archetype. These are unconscious patterns you inherited from your family lineage, culture, past experiences. These patterns operate like automatic programs, manifesting realities you consciously don't want. Let me give you a practical example. You want to manifest financial abundance. Consciously, you visualize, affirm, practice gratitude. But in the unconscious, there's an old program saying, spiritual people can't be rich, or money is the root of all evil, or I don't deserve more than my parents had. This unconscious program is way more powerful than any conscious technique. Quantum immortality, which is your consciousness's ability to exist beyond physical limitations, only becomes possible when you integrate these shadow aspects. When you stop fighting parts of yourself and start working with your wholeness. Tesla had a unique way of dealing with this. He treated each internal resistance as frequency noise that needed harmonizing, not eliminating. Instead of fighting the fear of abundance, he found the frequency behind that fear. Usually, it was fear of change, fear of responsibility, fear of judgment. Then he consciously tuned into those frequencies until they transformed into allies. This is real quantum manifestation. It's not about ignoring your limitations. It's about transforming your limitations into springboards for more expansive realities. Let me ask you a question that'll reveal exactly where you're sabotaging your own manifestation. What's the first emotion that arises when you imagine having what you most desire? Is it pure joy? Or does it come with a knot in your stomach? A feeling of, do I really deserve this? A worry about how people will react. That first emotion is your quantum GPS. It shows you exactly what frequency you're vibrating, regardless of what your conscious mind is saying. And the holographic universe always responds to that authentic frequency, not the edited version you try to project. Here's where most people get stuck in what I call the control trap. They're constantly monitoring their results. They visualize abundance, but check their bank account every hour with anxiety. They script about love, but obsess over text messages and dating apps. They declare health, but scan their body for symptoms every morning. In doing this, they send a signal of mistrust to the field. They're affirming one thing consciously, but broadcasting the opposite subconsciously. Why does this matter so much? Because the quantum field doesn't speak English or any human language. It speaks the language of energy, and energy never lies. You can say all the right words, but if your nervous system is bracing for loss, if your mind is locked in loops of doubt, if your body is flooded with stress hormones, the field listens to that deeper frequency. This is why so many people are exhausted. They're doing all the things, but they're doing them from a place of hypervigilance, scarcity, and lack. And so they loop. They manifest more waiting, more lack, more effort, more searching, because energetically, they're not in the timeline of already having. They're in the timeline of trying to get. Here's where it gets even more subtle. The subconscious mind runs about 95% of your life. It's the autopilot that shapes your habits, beliefs, emotional reactions, and sense of identity. You may consciously want a breakthrough, but if your subconscious is anchored in old stories, I'm not enough, nothing works for me, I have to fight for everything, those stories will collapse the wave into the same old outcomes. This is why affirmations without embodiment feel hollow. This is why visualizations without nervous system regulation collapse. This is why action without aligned identity leads to burnout. So what can you do? First, you must understand that quantum manifestation isn't an add-on to your life. It's a recalibration of your whole system. It's a remembering, a returning. It's about becoming the version of you that lives inside the timeline you desire before you see evidence of that timeline in your external world. For example, if you want to manifest abundance, you practice feeling abundant now. Not later, not when the money arrives, but now. You treat yourself with generosity, presence, and care. You let go of micromanaging the outcome, and you focus on embodying the signal of trust. If you want love, you practice loving yourself now. You open your heart. You soften your edges. You become the kind of partner you wish to attract. You stop seeking validation and start living as though you're already enough, because you are. If you want health, you stop scanning your body for what's wrong and begin nurturing what's right. You shift from survival mode into resilience. You practice gratitude for the body you have while gently guiding it toward greater vitality. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing it so desperately, it arrives faster. Not because the universe is testing you or playing games, but because you're no longer the resistance. Here we are at the heart of the mystery. There's something the matrix of social conditioning makes sure to hide from you. Reality operates like a quantum video game, and you have the power to choose which timeline you want to play in. But first, you need to understand that you're trapped in a specific timeline by programs you don't even realize are running. Let me tell you something that might sound surreal, but Tesla documented it in his private journals. In 1901, during his free energy experiments, he started noticing that certain inventions would simply refuse to manifest in physical reality. Not because of technical limitations, but because of what he called systemic resistance. As if the planet's own information field was blocking certain possibilities. That's when he understood we're living inside a control matrix, not in the fictional movie sense, but in the most scientifically real way possible. The simulation theory that physicists like David Deutsch study today suggests our reality might be information processing within a much larger structure. And this structure has, let's say, specific rules about what can and cannot manifest. Tesla realized most people manifest from pre-programmed timelines. They grow up in scarcity environments, so they automatically tune into scarcity timelines. They grow up in families with relationship problems and unconsciously choose timelines where relationships are complicated. They grow up in cultures that demonize money and naturally magnetize situations of financial struggle. It's not karma. It's not punishment. It's frequency, pure physics. You tune into the timeline that most resonates with your dominant frequency. And your dominant frequency gets shaped by everything you absorbed as normal during your early years. Here's the secret that completely shifted Tesla's view of manifestation. The multiverse isn't theory, it's operational reality. Right now, infinite versions of you are living infinite possibilities. There's an abundant version of you. A version completely fulfilled in love, a version with perfect health, a version living your highest purpose. And quantum physics proves you can literally jump between these timelines through what scientists call directed wave function collapse. But, and here's the secret few understand, this jump doesn't happen through the mind. It happens through an activated pineal gland. Your pineal gland is literally a quantum antenna. When it's calcified by fluoride, processed food, stress, lack of sunlight, it loses the ability to pick up the subtler frequencies of the multiverse. But when it's activated through meditation, conscious breathing, sun exposure, toxin reduction, it becomes a dimensional radar. Carl Jung discovered this from another angle. He realized that during altered states of consciousness, what he called numinous experiences, his patients literally accessed parallel versions of their own lives. They saw how their lives would be in timelines where they made different choices. And more fascinating still, some could bring back information, insights, even skills from these other versions into their current timeline. Jung called this quantum individualization. The process of becoming conscious of your multi-dimensional possibilities. He realized most of the traumas, fears, and limitations people carry aren't even originally theirs. They're echoes from other timelines, memories from parallel versions that went through difficult experiences. This explains why you sometimes have irrational fears, why certain situations trigger you disproportionately, why you have natural talents for things you never studied. You're picking up information from other versions of yourself, from other timelines. And here's the revolutionary part. When you understand this process, you can use it consciously. Instead of being a victim of traumatic parallel echoes, you can intentionally tune into your more fulfilled, abundant, wiser versions. Tesla developed a specific technique for this. He called it electromagnetic temporal navigation. During deep relaxation states, he visualized his consciousness as an antenna that could tune into different temporal frequencies. Then he literally scanned the multiverse, looking for the version of himself that had already solved whatever problem he was facing. When he found that version, he didn't try to imitate it. He allowed himself to resonate with that version's frequency until his own frequency harmonized. It's like two tuning forks. When you strike one, the other automatically starts vibrating at the same frequency. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Say you want to manifest financial abundance. Instead of visualizing money coming to you, you tune into the parallel version of yourself that already lives abundantly. How does that version think? How does it move? How does it make decisions? How does it relate to money? How does it feel in its own body? You don't copy, you resonate. You allow your current frequency to gradually harmonize with that more abundant version's frequency. And when this happens, when you literally become the same vibration as that parallel version, external circumstances begin reorganizing to reflect that new frequency. But there's a subtle catch that destroys this whole process. The social matrix programs you to believe change takes time, that transformation is difficult, that you need to earn abundance through suffering and effort. These are control programs that keep you trapped in the limitation timeline. Actually, jumping between timelines can happen instantly. Tesla documented cases where a single electromagnetic attunement session completely changed his reality within days. Not because he forced external changes, but because he internally had already become a different person. The Hermetic principles, especially the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, explain how this works. When you internally change to a new frequency, the holographic universe automatically reorganizes external circumstances to match the new vibration. It's law, it's automatic, it's instantaneous. But there's a guardian in this process that few know about. Jung called it the threshold guardian archetype. It's a part of the psyche that protects you from changes that are too rapid. Its function is to maintain stability, predictability, security. even if it's the security of limitation. This guardian manifests as internal resistance when you try to jump to a timeline too different from the current one. It creates doubts, fears, sabotage, distractions, not out of malice, but from protective instinct. It prefers known pain to unknown happiness. Tesla discovered that the way to work with this guardian is through conscious gradualness. Instead of trying to jump from a scarcity life to total abundance overnight, you make small daily jumps. You tune into versions of yourself that are just a little more abundant, a little more fulfilled, a little healthier. And here's the brilliant trick. Each small jump recalibrates your nervous system to accept the new frequency as normal. The threshold guardian relaxes because the change doesn't seem threatening. And gradually, without resistance, you navigate to increasingly expansive timelines. But there's something else most people miss about timeline navigation. Your morning consciousness state determines which parallel version of you will be in charge for the next 16 hours. Wake up with enthusiasm for the day ahead. You activate versions that attract opportunities, synchronicities, inspiring people. Wake up heavy, feeling like another day to get through. You activate versions that attract problems, complications, energy drainers. Quantum manifestation through timelines isn't about attracting things to you. It's about becoming the version of you that already lives in the reality you desire. And when you become that version, not mentally, but vibrationally, everything around you automatically reorganizes to reflect who you've become. Here's where the theory of simulation becomes crucial to understand. We're not just living in a simulation, we're co-creating the simulation. Every choice, every emotional state, every belief pattern is literally writing the code of your experience. The matrix isn't something happening to you. It's something you're participating in creating. But most people are unconscious programmers. They're running on default settings, recycling the same patterns, generating the same outcomes. The spiritual awakening through quantum physics isn't just about understanding these concepts intellectually. It's about becoming a conscious programmer of your own reality. Notice something. Right now, as you're listening to this, you're choosing which version of yourself is paying attention. Is it the skeptical version that's looking for flaws in what you're hearing? The curious version that's connecting dots? The inspired version that's already imagining how to apply this? Each one will create a completely different experience from the same information. This is the observer effect in action. Your consciousness isn't just passively receiving this content. It's actively shaping what this content becomes in your experience. The same words can be life-changing revelation or empty theory, depending on which version of you is observing. Tesla understood that consciousness isn't local. It isn't confined to your physical brain. It's a field phenomenon that extends far beyond your body. When you shift your consciousness to a different frequency, you literally tune into different aspects of the infinite field of possibilities. The ancient Hermetic principle, as within, so without, describes this perfectly. Your internal state is constantly broadcasting a signal into the field, and the field is constantly reflecting that signal back to you as your lived experience. Change the internal signal, and the external reflection changes automatically. But here's what creates the most resistance: letting go of the old identity. Even if the old identity is limited, painful, or unfulfilling, it's familiar, and the unconscious mind will fight to maintain familiarity because familiarity feels safe. even when it's keeping you small. This is where the concept of quantum immortality becomes relevant. Your consciousness doesn't die when you shed old identities. It expands. Every time you let go of a limiting belief, a fearful pattern, a scarcity program, you don't lose something. You remember more of who you actually are beyond those limitations. The goal isn't to become someone else. The goal is to remember the unlimited being you've always been, underneath all the programming, all the conditioning, all the learned limitations. That unlimited being already exists in the timelines of your highest potential. You're not creating something new. You're returning to something eternal. Which version of yourself will you choose to be tomorrow morning? Will it be the version stuck in old patterns, or the version aligned with your quantum potential? But there's something even deeper that few people understand. Something Tesla discovered in his final years that completely shifted his understanding of consciousness and quantum immortality. A discovery that connects everything we've just explored about quantum manifestation with something much greater, with the fundamental structure of what it means to be human in this holographic universe. You've seen how to tune into parallel timelines. You understand how to use your pineal gland as a quantum antenna. You've learned how to work with unconscious archetypes to manifest through quantum physics instead of mental force. But there's a level beyond this spiritual science that goes beyond manifesting things. It's about manifesting who you truly are beyond the matrix of temporal limitations. Tesla realized that consciousness isn't confined to the physical body or even to a single timeline. He discovered we're multidimensional beings having an apparently three-dimensional experience. And when you awaken to this truth, when you truly comprehend your quantum nature, manifestation becomes automatic because you stop trying to create and start remembering who you've always been. The Hermetic principles speak of this when they say, know thyself. It's not intellectual knowledge. It's a quantum awakening to your true identity as eternal consciousness, navigating through multiple realities simultaneously. And this opens doors to possibilities that go far beyond what we've explored today. Because when you understand your immortal consciousness playing at being human temporarily, everything shifts. Your fears dissolve. Your limitations reveal themselves as illusions. Your capacity to co-create reality expands exponentially. There's so much more to discover about this journey of spiritual awakening through quantum physics. Secrets Tesla documented but were suppressed. Techniques Carl Jung developed in private. Pineal gland activation protocols the ancients knew but were lost to history. To continue exploring these deeper mysteries of quantum consciousness, check out the next video that'll appear on your screen. There, you'll discover even more fascinating layers of this multidimensional reality we're just beginning to understand. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.